Accessibility, the podcast from the ARC, Southern Maryland. I'm Rita Rich, and on the recording with me today is Renee Seigley. Now, she is the Director of Development for the ARC, Southern Maryland. Renee, welcome, and thank you for being with me.
Thanks very much.
Your job is to raise money and to make sure that our clients have everything they need and our staff has everything they need to help the clients in any way that you can think of. So I know that Giving Tuesday is a big event. Talk to me about the importance of Giving Tuesday.
Okay, sure. So the best way that I've heard Giving Tuesday described is that it is a global generosity movement. So it started really grassroots. I think it was 2012. And if I'm correct, it started with a YMCA in New York City and grew exponentially from there so that now, billions of dollars that are obviously community transforming and life transforming at this point. I really was keen to the idea of doing Giving Tuesday or something around Giving Tuesday because I wanted to counteract the consumerism that falls around what I've always thought of as a giving holiday or giving season. So I'm not usually out there, but I appreciate the deals that can be found on a Black Friday or a Cyber Monday. But when all of that is said and done, I really hope that people come back around and think of the reasons, that there are to give, and that they do that on Giving Tuesday. So we decided probably 4 years ago to create a campaign around this date, and we call it Giving Tuesdays, plural. The rationale is that we start 3 weeks prior to Giving Tuesday on each of the Tuesdays prior to the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. We have a cause that's associated with that Tuesday. So we are in the swing of the campaign right now.
I know that last year I did a lot of recording with two dentists talking about giving to the ARC Southern Maryland's Dental Fund. So I know that people who have been following the ARC Southern Maryland probably know that it's a good idea to get your teeth checked, but why it's so important for our particular clients to make sure that we take care of their oral health.
Absolutely. The Dental Fund really was a product of Giving Tuesday about 4 years ago. And it was kind of an eye-opening realization for those of us who work at the ARC, and then, of course, for the general public to realize that a lot of the dental needs of the people we support are not met through their benefits. So it's actually about 56% of people who have intellectual or developmental disabilities, which we will shorten to IDD. They don't get the dental care they need. And the main reason for that is simply cost. They have a higher dental need from a hygiene perspective, from a number of other perspectives. It just generates a higher need. And when they are going to the dentist, these needs are compounded by the fact that they often need sedation dental care. So that runs about $500 for every 15 minutes. And when we started to take a look at that and what that meant for, the average person that we support, it really meant that people weren't going to be able to get the care they needed. If they did get it, then it was quite delayed. And as most people know, having a dental issue and not treating it will then compound into other issues and can lead to some really devastating health consequences. So the Dental Fund was born from that idea. And over the past 4 years, we've been able to help quite a few people to get the care that they need. I think our average dental procedure runs around $3,000. And it still sounds like a lot to me because it is. And if you don't have the insurance to cover even a part of that, it becomes a very difficult situation. So most recently, we helped a gentleman named Daniel who never smiled. If he did, he was the closed mouth smiler. And he needed some cosmetic work to his front teeth and also some routine dental that just hadn't been done over the past few years. So he spent quite a few hours in the chair. And I know he did not love that part. Nobody does. But when he came out, he was a new man. And when we asked him, what was different other than his beautiful smile, he said, I feel better about myself. And that makes the whole thing worthwhile. So we will continue to raise for the Dental Fund this Giving Tuesday and probably in the future, but that's been a consistent cause for us.
You have another ask this year, and that is funds to help create a wheelchair accessible shower, roll-in shower. Can you explain how much money you're looking to get?
We need more than I thought that we would, because I, kind of assess the needs before we begin the campaigns and then have discussions with everyone about the priority of needs, because there are more than what we could really accomplish in the campaign. We have 28 residential houses in the ARC, and none of them are new. So there's always a need for something that has to do with maintenance, and there's always an expense associated with that. This year, we're taking a look at our Able house, which is home to 4 ladies. 3 of them are not super ambulatory, so they have a little harder time getting around. We have one, what I would define as an accessible bathroom in the home, and that's really not enough for 4 women. As a woman myself, I imagine and cringe. So we took a look at this. One of the women has really she just moved into a hospital bed and is needing a wheelchair. And with those needs, also needs to be able to have an accessible shower, an accessible bath. So we need to convert the second bathroom in the house to make it the most accessible that it can be. And we can't just throw a roll-in shower where you can take your wheelchair into the existing bathroom, which in my head, that's what we were going to do. And it wasn't going to cost that much, but you just can't do it that way. There's going to be a complete reconfiguration of the bath.
Not only do you have to consider the plumbing issues, but any underneath things like the floorboards and what they call a floor pan that helps you drain whatever gets on the floor beyond the shower to make sure it doesn't rot your other floors. It has to go into a drain. So you've got plumbing, you've got construction work. Once you start opening up a wall or ripping out an old fixture, you never know what you're going to find. Surprise.
I know. So there could be all sorts of surprises in here, but they do need to reconfigure everything that's in there to make it work for this particular type of shower. And so the total cost is going to end up being around $15,000. We've had some very generous donors come forth in the first couple days, and we're off to a good start. We definitely need all of the help that we can get.
Renee, have you ever had your car in the shop and it was so aggravating because you didn't know how you were going to get to work?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Maximilian Robinson, and I'm the mechanic at Robinson Cycle.
In Southern Maryland and the greater Washington, D.C. area, if you have an electric bike that blows a tire or doesn't work electronically for some reason, Max at Robinson Cycles will come to your rescue. Owings-based Robinson Cycles on the web at ecyclemd.com. It's a family-run business. And that shop is going to help our clients figure out how to stay on the road and be independent, even though something goes wrong with their bikes. Let's talk about what you're doing with the ARC. We are trying to raise money for a couple of guys who do everything on their bikes. And one of them had an e-bike, and he got into an accident. E-bikes are not that easy to fix on their own, I imagine.
It just depends on what the issue is. So just like every other bike out there, they have a bunch of moving mechanical parts. That stuff most bike shops can handle. But when it comes to the electronics, it's a new territory for like bike shops. So you have people who do work on stuff, but there's a lot of DIYers with e-bikes. So yeah, if you run into an issue where it was something in the electric system, that's when it can be a little bit more of a funk there to try to figure out what's going on, because then you have to get parts, you have to talk to the company, you have to know batteries, controllers, motors, and yeah, there's still new technology. So that's what we're here for, is when stuff like that happens.
How did the people at the ARC find you?
They just stopped by the shop one day. So they just strolled in and said, hey, what's going on? Let's check this out. And we did a test drive with the tricycle here. And yeah, we started talking to them since then.
It's so hilly. You've got these really huge hills going up and down creeks and towards rivers, and then there's the bay. So the electric motor portion of it, I could see you setting up a stand, renting these things in like North Beach somewhere.
We like promote ownership over that stuff because it's always better for people. If you have a ride, you can keep up with it.
Maximilian spent part of his childhood in Calvert County. He went to college out of state. He came back to Maryland, where he used to live in more urban areas in Prince George's County. Now, I saw that you biked in on your electric bike. Explain to me the freedom a bicycle can provide a person as opposed to being in my little rectangle of
big fat tires.
Yeah, I can give you a great example. So growing up, I never really rode a bicycle. I would ride a skateboard sometimes, but I was never really interested in a bicycle. My bike got stolen when I was in like 3rd grade, and I never really had one after that either. It just wasn't a big appeal to me. So when I moved to College Park, I was commuting, and I realized my commute was like a 9-mile commute, and it would take anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes depending on the traffic and parking and all that stuff. And I was just kind of bored of it, so I got the e-bike, right? And at first my vision was just, well, I can ride to and from work with this, and it'll be fun, and I can get some exercise, and it's just a change, because I heard about it, and I was like, well, let's see what the deal is here. So as I started riding it more, I realized in the area I was in, there was tons of bike paths, right? Mm-hmm. So then I started riding the bike paths in my spare time, and I started doing Uber Eats, delivering food. I started seeing all these different opportunities were around me that if I was just driving my car around doing my thing, I would have never noticed any of this stuff at all. So you find all different kinds of new places, things around you, fun activities to do, like shops, at parks. Pretty much all this stuff opened up to me that I had no clue that it was around me, or even if I did, it just wasn't part of my normal life. You know what I mean? I was just pretty much going to work, going home. And then one of my hobbies is I make music, so I would just sit inside and make music or play on the computer, you know?
Yeah.
So the bike's cool because it can open you up to the whole realm around you. Because I started to realize I could get all around D.C., Bethesda, even parts of Virginia, just from my house in College Park on my bike. And the e-bike gave me that distance because I'm not a traditional, athlete bike rider, because to get those miles, most people, you'd have to train to get up to the point where you can ride like 50 miles or 60 miles, right? But the e-bike has let me go around, have a grand time, and it's like a whole different world too, because you don't have to take the normal roads.
It might be hard for you to give me like a price range for your e-bikes, but can you try the low to medium to high?
Yeah, so there's different ends of the spectrum with this. So for the lower end bikes out there, they're going to be 36 volt bikes, and those bikes are going to be anywhere from like $400 to $1,200. Now, we don't normally do 36 volt bikes because like you were talking about with the hills, it's a very hilly area here, and they have a weaker power. They're great for some people, but you'll find that most of the intro e-bikes are 36 volt or something that's cheaper. Now, in our store, we sell class 1, 2, 3 bikes, and the 36 volt bikes fall under those realms. And the class doesn't really differentiate the money power either. There's a lot of misbeliefs here. So class is just power. So what we like to focus on is the most power that you can have legally in Maryland is 750 watts. That's going to give you your best hill climbing. So for a bike like that, on the lower end of the price spectrum, you can pay around $1,000 to $1,300, and that'll get you something with premium components, 750 watts, full power, and that's the street legal limit too, so it'll be within the class system. But we have other bikes in here where you can spend upwards of $2,000 to even like $4,000 or $5,000 on some things. Like we had one bike, the Cobra Pro, that's like a upgraded version of a Hemiway bike, and that one is about $4,200. But the stuff we carry, we try to stay in the 1,000 to 2,000 range of the spectrum, and people bring us all kinds of stuff. Like there's a big monster, it's called a ET Time Moto bike in here. That bike is worth $10,000 that someone brought us to work on.
Robinson Cycle is made up of Max's mom and dad, and they both gave up having to use cars for the typical bumper-to-bumper commute into the city.
How close do you live to where we're sitting?
We're I think 12 miles away. So I rode over here on the bike today. I stopped at Bowen's on the way over, and I was just kind of meandered my way over here, but it's not really too crazy of a ride, because some people are like, you ride on Route 4? And I'm like, yeah, it's like every week. It's not really that big of a deal. You just got to learn how to ride and pay attention to the road and look where the bike signals are for everything, because there are certain ways you got to ride and do stuff. It's not like riding in the city where there's all the bike paths here, but Calvert's actually really good for bike riding. Like where I live, I've got a loop that if you do all the neighborhoods, you can get like 30, 40 miles out of it almost, and there's really not a lot of car traffic or anything.
Much thanks to all of our Giving Tuesdays donors, Maximilian Robinson of Robinson Cycles and the ARC Southern Maryland's Renee Seigley. who says our nonprofit reached its fundraising goal for its e-bike campaign, but we still need more help renovating and replacing bathrooms and other services in our group homes, and our dental fund needs more help to keep our clients healthy and smiling. Please leave this podcast, See Me, See My Ability from the ARC Southern Maryland, some stars and reviews wherever you find our podcast on your personal computer, iPad, or phone app like Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our favorite, Podbean. Till next time, I'm Rita Rich.